What's going on, my PT peeps, my Walking Dead family, my fighters? I'm One Eye Bright, also known as PT. Don't know if I'm winking or blinking, but I'm definitely thinking about Fear the Walking Dead Season 7, Episode 7 review, recap, breakdown, discussion. So obviously spoiler warning for all things Fear the Walking Dead, well, Walking Dead universe as a whole. But Season 7, Episode 7 is a step in the right direction. After 706, Althea's last episode, it's back on track to something that's entertaining. We get to see two characters that we haven't seen all season, which is Alicia and Wendell. But hit that subscribe button, like, share, subscribe, support the PT channel any way that you can. You can donate, you can share the video, you can tell your friends, tell your family, and any which way you can. Shout out to everybody that supports the PT channel. We truly appreciate it. Now it's the Towers episode, Sanctuary 2.0, and it's basically Strand living the good life with the art. And I have to say there's red all over the place, even though we don't lose anybody in this episode. Even though Strand kind of loses his mind, but he does hold on to the tower, the Sanctuary 2.0. And I have to say that Fear the Walking Dead Season 7, and really Fear the Walking Dead as a whole, has really reused so many story arcs, just ideas from The Walking Dead. It's kind of like a discount Walking Dead, so is Fear the Walking Dead discount dead? But we'll have to see what it is going forward, because it could be an awesome second half, and I hope it is, because the first half has been like, okay, it's had its moments. Strand versus Morgan, they come face to face in this episode, but Strand is sitting in a chair with his outfit, just looks kind of ridiculous, but he's holding the sword, he's posing, he's like, paint me. And the woman paints him, and it's a really great portrait. That's what the episode is called, The Portrait. This woman, or whoever the artist is, does a great job painting Strand like this, but Strand wants to be seen somehow, some way that is just not going to be how people see him. The phone rings, he answers it. It's a guy named Arnold. We see him later on looking like a Game of Thrones dropout, but ultimately Strand is taking the phone calls like hello? Nope, sorry, nope, sorry, just not letting people in. Howard's like, man, what did I sign up for? Even though Howard just does what Strand says, even though he doesn't understand some things, Strand talks to Morgan on the phone. Morgan says, I have to come in because baby Momo is sick. Is baby Morgan sick? We don't really know. It was a ploy and a plan by Morgan to get into the Sanctuary 2.0. We see that they're doing a lot of good stuff here with crops. And again, it's a great place to stay, but could there be other places like this? I would think so. And if it's so bad here, just leave the state of Texas, go to another state. But Morgan comes up with a plan to use baby Morgan as the cause to get into the Sanctuary 2.0. Strand doesn't listen. He's like, get out of here. So Morgan goes away. Strand gets the painting and tosses it over the edge. He just doesn't, I don't know what he wants to be seen in his portrait. It just doesn't make sense. So he wastes the painting and throws it over, even though he brings it back later on. Can't help but notice the symbolism, foreshadowing potentially, and the red in the painting. Walkers walk all over it. And later on, they bring it back in, and it's broken except for Strand's face. Morgan is brought into the Sanctuary 2.0 because Morgan, Strand, they have to come face to face at some point, right? Morgan sees the Polaroids and he sees the walker bodies and the people, and basically what Strand is doing here, it's like a missing persons board, but it's more like a bounty board of all the walkers and people that Strand and his patrols have taken out. But like I said, Morgan finally gets into the Sanctuary 2.0, and Strand is really like a hybrid leader in the Walking Dead universe, and I guess villain. But June is taking care of baby Momo. She says that she has a double ear infection. So is she playing the game, or is baby Momo actually sick? We don't really find out, and it's hard to believe. But if you look at Morgan's right hand, he's hiding it, and his posture is pretty weird as Strand pours the ice into the glasses, and then, you know, the whiskey or bourbon or whatever the drink is into the glasses. But look at Morgan's right hand. It's behind him. So I believe that he took something from the medical room, because if he had any of these supplies that he actually pours into the drink that we find out later on to poison Strand, wouldn't Strand's people have caught him? But either way, Strand turns away, and that's when Morgan dumps the liquid into the glasses. Hopefully he picks the right glass, right? Inconceivable, if you know what I'm talking about. But they have a drink and they talk. Morgan versus Strand face to face. If Strand was really a villain, he would just take Morgan out right here. He has a gun pointed at Morgan, and as they're talking, they share a drink, and it's like they're adversaries, but are they equals? Does it make sense? I mean, it's happening on the show. It has to be our antagonist versus protagonist, but they share a drink, and if Strand really wanted to take Morgan out right here, He probably should have, right? But the walker comes and hits the glass. And they're up on, some floor elevated from the first floor. And we're like, what's going on here? Did a walker really just hit the glass? And they did. We're going to find out that it's Arnold that called before on the phone at the beginning of the episode and fired this walker at the glass. The walker doesn't break the glass, but then we look out the window and they have a catapult, which is a great idea in theory because I don't know how the walker would just stay there, like lock him in and then fires them, but it's kind of a cool concept. Kind of a medieval Game of Thrones trebuchet type of thing, but they fire another walker at the glass. This one breaks the glass. They don't destroy the walker, they kick it out the window, and as they kick it out the window, it has radioactive material here that blows up as it falls and explodes and kind of, I guess, can contaminate the area, but we find out that they have explosives in them and they're fired at the place a couple times. And this is Arnold right here. To me, he looks like a LARPing Game of Thrones reject. Like, why is he looking like a crow of the Night's Watch, right? If you know Game of Thrones, you know what I'm talking about. Is it definitely a Game of Thrones callback, a connection, an Easter egg? But ultimately, we see Strand and Arnold talking. What goes around comes around. If they just let Arnold in, who's a carpenter, by the way, so I guess he could have made that. But Strand and Morgan are talking. As Strand walks away from Morgan, he clutches his chest and his throat, and he's like, like he looks like he's choking, but it turns out he was poisoned. And it's kind of a thing like, who poisoned? Who done it? Well, it's kind of an obvious answer, but either way, Strand is not doing so well, and as Strand is in bed resting for like 10 minutes, John Dory Sr. looks at the, biohazard people here with the contaminated walkers through the scope, and yes, that is Wendell right there. And Wendell is a minor character, but it's good to see him. We hate loose ends, but John Dory Sr. just looks at what to do. He doesn't fire a shot at all. He just sees what's going on and reports back. Wendell is kind of talking to him like a wingman, and it's good to see Wendell. Again, he's not the biggest character, but he was there. Strand was not lying. So Strand wakes up, and he was passed out for 10 minutes. But previously, Arnold gave Strand 1 hour. I don't know why he gave him so much time for what to do, but Morgan, Baby Morgan, June, John Dory Sr., Wendell, Howard, they come around Strand. And as Strand walks away, he pukes up a blue substance. And we find out that it was the poison that Morgan put in there later on, but it's like a whodunit thing still at this point. We don't know that it's Morgan here, halfway through the episode, but Strand is freaking out. He grabs his saber and he's like, it was you. You poisoned me. No, you poisoned me. No, someone here poisoned me. Who was here? Who was brought in recently? And he's weak and he's freaking out and he's not trusting anybody, right? But Wendell is there. And it's funny because Strand points his sword at Wendell and says, you poisoned me. You're mad because I didn't let your sister in. But he just spilled the beans because Wendell didn't know that Sarah was there. And Wendell goes, what? What are you talking about? She was here. And Morgan tells him what happened. But another explosion goes off and they have to go down to the armory. Strand and Morgan go to the elevator shaft with Baby Morgan that Strand uses as insurance to have Morgan do what he wants. But Morgan goes down the elevator shaft. He grabs onto the wiring, the cables. So as Morgan goes down, I have to say, see the hand right there at the bottom? It's a walker hand right there. It's annoying me because you could have just killed the walker with the cavalry sword that Strand has. It's like, kill the walker already. There's no reason to have some of this unnecessary drama, that's for sure. But Morgan goes down to the bottom and Strand has his little moments, talks about his dad, and he has a nice moment like we're supposed to feel for Strand. But again, Morgan makes it to the bottom and he's like, okay, lower Baby Morgan down. Because, if you turn, you're going to eat Baby Morgan, right? But again, it's Strand's moments talking about his dad and, being a father for Baby Morgan. It's kind of weird. But Strand lowers Baby Morgan with an extension cord cable type of thing. And again, it's dramatic. And it's like these walkers are in reach of reaching Baby Morgan, but Baby Morgan makes it safely down. And again, it's unnecessary dramatic fashion, but Strand is weak and he's not sure what's going to happen next as Morgan and Baby Morgan go safely into the armory. They call Grace because the plan is that Grace and Morgan's people, I guess Luciana and Wes and Sarah, are going to attack Arnold from the back and the side as Arnold is focusing on the tower, so he'll be vulnerable. And as Strand waits to see what's going to happen, Morgan and Baby Morgan go away, and Strand ends up passing out again. So as Strand passes out, stuff happens that we don't see. It's off camera. Evidently, Arnold is taken out by Grace in that group. We just don't see it at all, which is cheesy. But Strand wakes up. He's not doing so well still, but he's alive. And Arnold's gone. The threat is neutralized from the tower. June injects him with something, not sure what it is, B12 shot or something, but also she takes out the needle and then she puts the cap back on. You probably would never do that. If you're a medical professional, you know why you wouldn't do that. You can probably stab yourself in the finger and it's kind of hard to put a cap back on, a needle or a syringe, or maybe it's designed for that. But I guess it's the medical professional in me that's kind of nitpicking. But Morgan and Strand have a conversation and it's like, oh, it's all good now, right? Morgan and Strand right here reminds me a little bit of Carol and Morgan in The Walking Dead. Again, they're just reusing stuff from The Walking Dead. The discount dead is what Fear the Walking Dead feels like to me, but Morgan helps Strand up, and as Morgan helps Strand up, Strand sees the blue liquid on Morgan's finger. Like, wash your hand, Morgan, what are you doing? So we see this angle right here that Morgan pours the blue liquid in Strand's glass. And my question is, did he have this substance when he came to the tower, or did he get it in the medical room? I guess we'll never know, but either way, he poisoned Strand, and he did a crappy job in it because Morgan and Strand wrestle and fight, which is kind of ridiculous because Strand would be pretty weak as he almost died here with being poisoned, but Strand puts up a decent fight a little bit at least, and then Morgan takes him down. It's about to throw him off the edge of the elevator shaft, and then he gets stopped by Howard and Strand's people. So again, Morgan and Strand come to blows, but nothing happens because that would be too easy here. So Strand is about to throw Morgan off the top of the tower, but of course Morgan is not going to die because Morgan don't die. He is essential to the Walking Dead universe and we need him to be reunited with Rick and continue the story. But as they're about to throw Morgan off the top of the tower, Strand gets a phone call. And it's kind of stupid. Like, who cares what the phone call is? Morgan versus Strand. Like, Morgan tried to kill Strand. Strand should have thrown Morgan off the top of the building and neutralized the threat, right? But that's the writing here that we get. So on the phone is Grace, and she's like, you need me. Don't kill Morgan. Well, Strand has baby Morgan. So wouldn't she have to go to help them anyway? Like, it doesn't make sense. But Grace says, you need my help. I can neutralize the walkers or pick out the walkers. I need some equipment, and I can get rid of the walkers that were contaminated that Arnold and his people brought to the tower that they were going to use to fire at the building, which would have been terrible because it would have contaminated the whole building. But Grace and Morgan talk on the phone. Morgan is exiled yet again, but Grace goes into the tower and is going to help Strand clean up the walkers. As Strand is standing there looking at his painting, Howard comes in and talks to Strand. Strand says to Howard, get me the baby. Get me baby Morgan. Howard asks, I thought you didn't like kids. And Strand says, well, she's going to have to find out who her new dad is. So what's up with that? That's just kind of weird. But the painting is all tore up except for the face. It's got some red marks on there, and we'll have to see is it symbolic or what it is. But Morgan is walking away from the tower. He is surrounded by some people. Turns out it's Dwight, Sherry, and the people they're working with. So Dwight and Sherry are reunited with Morgan. They talk to Morgan and say, come follow us. And so he does. I mean, like, what is he going to do anyway? He was exiled from the tower, and where's he going to go? But it works out perfectly, I have to say, as I don't know how Strand's people couldn't find Dwight and Sherry and where they were. But either way, they go to the middle of nowhere in some field. They move some fencing that is protecting them from walkers. And we see a little, I don't know, community settlement, whatever this is. But you see in the center tent is where the leader is. So Morgan is talking with Dwight and Sherry. And there's kind of a build up here because we're like, who are these people? What's going on here? But I have to say, they're in such a crappy area, like a camp, a settlement, tent city here. It's like you couldn't find a building somewhere. Man, this budget is kind of low for this season, I guess. But either way, Dwight, Sherry, they talk about she is the leader. So this person comes out the center tent as Morgan is taken to this person, and she removes her mask, and it's Alicia. We finally get to see Alicia in season 7, episode 7. We'll see her in 708 too, seeing the backstory where she was in the bunker, and she's there asking for Morgan's help. So Morgan and Alicia are gonna work together. I don't know about you, but I was excited to see Alicia because it's like, yes, we're finally getting some answers. We hate loose ends. We just had to wait basically 7 episodes to kind of see what happened with Alicia last season, but we will. So Alicia and Morgan are working together. So Alicia, Morgan, Dwight, Sherry and Alicia's people are going to, I guess, go against Strand's people. And maybe Arnold's people. I don't know if Arnold actually survived or not. I don't think he did, but it's hard to tell because we don't see what happened to him. But either way, as Morgan and Alicia are talking, we see walkers come towards the camp. We see 3 walkers that have the nuclear material in their bellies, of course, right? What are the odds of that? But as Alicia looks on, Morgan sees the walkers and he realizes it's 3 walkers with the nuclear material in their belly. So the 3 walkers are shot and taken out by Alicia's people because they don't really know much about that. But as the walkers explode, the red gas fills the air and comes towards Alicia's camp. So that ain't good. So Alicia's camp has to evacuate the area and go over the ridge, over the yonder. But this is basically how the episode ends, with the red smoke coming toward the camp. Alicia's like, Morgan and Alicia tell everybody to get the masks and run away, and that's the end of the episode. So we'll find out next week what happened with Alicia in the bunker, as the episode is titled Padre. So we're finally going to see what's up with Padre, and it looks like from the trailer that Padre is an acronym, and it says Classified Information Secret Government Program from the US Government, Padre. So we'll have to see what happens with the bunker, Alicia, Will, and the people in here. Why did they leave? But Morgan and Alicia working together. Alicia looking like her character from the 100. So I'll have to see how it goes down next week. The final episode of the first half, the first 8 episodes will be done this Sunday on AMC Plus and next Sunday on AMC. And overall, season 7 has been a little lackluster. It's been okay. There's been some entertaining moments. We're still waiting and wondering about Padre, and at least we got some answers where Alicia is and Wendell. Still no hint at where the kids are. I guess we're never going to see them again, or Skidmark. But Daniel, Luciana, Wes, they're pretty much MIA with the weakest storylines ever. But overall, season 7 is a good step in the right direction. Let me know your thoughts. Post your comments below. Like, share, subscribe. Support the PT channel any way you can. Stay safe. And as always, tell them Daryl.